right, thanks for joining us, folks. Deadline Live. I'm Jack Lugg, your narrator, your radio gun. As always, this is AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Call it WorldFreedomRadio.com because we want the whole world to be free, but we just know we have to start with our own plot of land here. On the line with us is Edward Peck. He is a retired U.S. diplomat, served 32 years in U.S. Foreign Service, Nixon administration, Carter administration, Reagan administration, and an ambassador in his own right, has really given his whole life for service. He was on the flotilla that we've been talking about here for the last 2 days. And I thank you so much for joining us, Ambassador Peck. I know you're really busy, but we just have a few more minutes and a few more questions. Do we have the ambassador with us?
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, we do have you. Just a couple of more questions. We've been hearing a lot about paintballs being used, paintball guns, and that just does not jive. It doesn't make sense. And I know that some of these commando units use chemical weapons that might look like a paintball gun. Do you have any information on that?
Sure. The guys who came on our boat carried, machine guns and pistols and stun grenades, and a couple of them had paintball guns attached to their machine guns. So the Israelis,
like a paintball gun, or I don't really understand this kind of weaponry. Did it look? I mean, was it definitely a paintball gun? Because I don't like people.
Yeah, because the fellow I flew home with, the guy who was put on the same plane with me to fly home, a fellow named Joseph Meadows, was a wounded survivor of the Liberty attack, if you remember that one.
Yes, we covered that earlier, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so he was with me, and his T-shirt had been hit by two paintballs, one blue and one green. And, of course, all he had was his T-shirt. He got off the boat the way I did, with nothing. So, yeah, he got hit with paintballs. It just stung him, But they used stun grenades on our little ship that left one guy stunned, and they also used violence to remove the people who were trying to block access to the wheelhouse. So we had people with their arms in slings and people with bandages on their heads and so forth, because they didn't want us to prevent them from taking over the boat. And we offered what is described as, and what we were told to do, was passive resistance. Lock arms, stand around inside the wheelhouse, don't let them in. And they were convinced that we shouldn't be allowed to do that, so they removed us forcibly, and in some cases, injured people.
Well, that's not, we did see some video. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the video of people combating the commandos who had lined down from their Apache helicopters onto the ship in question. And a lot of us thought, take the beating because it's coming, but they did fight back. It's hard not to. I would have probably done the same thing. What brought that on? What provoked that?
What provoked what, the fighting or the attack on the ship?
The fighting back, because you just said, we were going to be in solidarity.
That was on my little ship. On the bigger ship, they had the people were there, husbands and wives. The husbands were saying, "God damn it, you're not going to take this ship." Forgive me, I didn't mean to use that language.
No, that's okay. Hey, you can say that on the radio now, thankfully.
Good heavens, they said. We're not going to let you take this ship. So if you read that some guy is fighting off these armed and masked peacekeepers with a deck chair, how serious that was.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they also used...
Ambassador Peck, we also got some information that there were some assassination lists, that some of these commandos had dropped some paper that had an assassination list, and they purposely wanted to kill and take out some of the passengers on the flotilla. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't heard about that. But that means, of course, they knew who was on the ship, and they had to find the people amongst the 600. I have had the impression, and nothing more than that the people who were killed in the struggle, up on top of the ship, which is different than going through the ship looking for Mr. X. How do you find? The Israelis have carried out assassinations before, but I don't know whether that was the case here or not. I have no way of knowing.
We're almost out of time, and I really hope when things settle for you a little bit, we can have you back because there's so much to talk about here. Finally, the Rachel Corrie is heading from Ireland. I saw the Deputy Secretary of State Crowley, DJ Crowley, today say that maybe they wouldn't undergo the same pressure you guys underwent because they were carrying an Irish flag coming in. Luckily, their engines had trouble, or they would have been with you. Now they're coming back in. Meanwhile, Bibi Netanyahu and Israel is saying, we consider this war, and we're going to escalate. We're going to be even more violent if somebody tries to crack this blockade again in international waters. Your opinion on all that, sir?
Well, this becomes emotional. If you remember who Rachel Corrie was, you do you, or not?
Yes, we do, and we've been reporting on it on our program.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, because here comes the Rachel Corrie loaded with Irish people flying the Irish flag. And the Israelis have said, we're going to stop her with whatever force is necessary. And I am told, although I have been largely incommunicado for the last 2 days running from station to station, that the Turks have said that they would protect that ship. Now you've escalated to a whole new level of potential problems. If the Turks are going to protect it and the Israelis are going to attack it, that's not something that anybody should want. But I gather from what I've heard and what I've been told by the people who are more familiar with it, the people on the Rachel Corrie intend to go forward.
Well, they are going forward.
Yeah, I mean, well, they've gone as far. You know, the whole thing is so strange. I was taken to Ashdod on our little boat, and they marched me in front of these officials, and they said, we're going to deport you. And I said, okay. And they said, you broke an Israeli law. And I said, wait a minute, what Israeli law did I break? And they said, you entered Israel illegally. I said, now hold on.
You took me here, yeah.
Yeah, you forced me to come here at gunpoint. I didn't want to come. That's entering illegally? Yes. And I said, well, we have a different understanding of law then. You know?
Ambassador, we're out of time. Ambassador Edward Peck, we'd love to have you back. I'll try to get my producers to make that arrangement.
Let's give it another shot.
The fact that they treated you like this and suspected you and a former ambassador and an important VIP doesn't say much for how they're going to treat the other people who aren't quite as esteemed. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to talking to you again real soon. Thank you for joining us, sir.